Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Autograph Cave podcast. And this week I have Mr. Brent Chandler. He's one of our admins, and we figured we'd do a podcast together and talk to you about how to send through the mail autograph request and what items and products that we use to send our through the mail request, as well as some other things, tell a couple stories, and stuff like that. This part one of the podcast is about 20 minutes long, so we'll get right into it here. But part two will come out, I think, 2 Mondays from now, so be on the lookout for that. But this has some great information as to how to TTM for the beginners and all that good stuff, so I hope you guys enjoy. And leave a comment, please subscribe, and don't forget to enter our 1K giveaway. Got all kinds of good prizes: the Le'Veon Bell signed helmet, CJ Spiller signed helmet, Mike Messina item, among other things. So I hope you guys enjoy, and please subscribe and leave your feedback, because that's how we get better. Get right into this here. So I hear that you have had a couple of TTM successes and so forth lately, so I kind of wanted to touch on those. If you want to kind of share some of those successes, maybe how you package some of the items you send. I saw you sent, I think it was like an 8x10 to Rhea Ripley from NXT. So maybe if you want to get into that and kind of let everybody know how you package the 8x10 and stuff like that. I'll just kind of let you take it.
Okay. Cool, man. Yeah, I've been, I've had 2 recent, through the mail, projects, I guess you'd say, requests sent back to me. Rhea Ripley was kind of cool because I took a chance on that one. And I actually sent it to Full Sail Live. So I sent it to the place where NXT is taped rather than the Performance Center. So that was kind of an interesting one because I just kind of took a chance on that. I didn't know, if they even get mail there. I know 99% of the time, if you're sending to someone who's in NXT, you send to the Performance Center. So I was pretty happy to see that come back and see that go through the Full Sail Live. And then I got back Jack Nicklaus, which, I'm not like a huge golf fan, but I watch it enough, to pay attention and appreciate it. And obviously, kind of next to Tiger Woods, he's the GOAT. And so that was a really, really big one for me to get back recently. I'll be honest, like most of the time when I send through the mail requests, I'm a cheapskate. I'm actually surprised that the stuff I get back comes back as well kept as it is, because I know a lot of people, kind of the best thing to do is to put a piece of cardboard in your package, so that way everything keeps kind of straight and clean and not bent. I've only done that one time. And one time, ironically enough, I had WWE wrestler or former wrestler Terry Funk, and actually I take that back, John Travolta did this too. They both sent back cardboard on their behalf. So, and Terry Funk actually paid the extra postage. So he paid additional postage on top of my postage to send cardboard back. So I usually, the only thing I do, and I must just have a really awesome mailman, I write on the envelope, not only on the one that I'm sending, but the one that I'm putting in the envelope to have sent back to me that's self-addressed, is I put in big, bold letters in Sharpie, photo, please do not bend.
Yep.
And that seems to do the trick quite often. I think I've only had about one photo come back where I was kind of like, oh man, it's kind of bent up. You're always going to get a little crease, a little dog ear here and there, because it is going through the mail.
Yep.
It's very rare where something's going to come back if it's not cardboarded completely clean. But I've only had one photo come back where I was really kind of bummed out with the bend in it. But I also noticed too, you kind of pays to be polite. Like, I literally always say, please do not bend. I'm not like short with it where I'm like, don't bend or photo, like I try to actually be a little more wordy and like actually say please, because at least for the people that deliver my mail, it seems to work.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you are. Like, I've never, when I send like 8x10 or whatever, I never put cardboard with it or anything. I just write "do not bend" on it, or something like that in Sharpie on both sides, and hope for the best. I mean,
right.
but I did learn the lesson the hard way, though. I sent way back in, I think it was 2010, I sent a Madden cover to Calvin Johnson, and that got bent in half somehow.
Oh, man.
So it has a giant crease in the middle of it, which is very disappointing. But I mean, the autograph's still there, so I guess it's all right.
Right.
So.
Right. And the big thing I always tell people too is it's really about a lot of this with anything you send through the mail. Whether it's an 8x10, a mini helmet. I have a couple friends that send Funko Pops through the mail. It's really about how much money are you actually wanting to spend, right? Because it's boxes versus envelopes. It's 2 or 3 stamps or going to the post office to get postage versus one stamp, right? Like when I send an 8x10 through the mail, my process is always the same. I send a letter because that does help protect the photo a little bit. It's an extra layer. I print my photo, and I have photo paper, so I actually save a lot of money on printing costs because, I buy the photo paper in like sheets of like, 20 or 30 at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I do is I take my self-addressed stamped envelope, I kind of fold it in half, and I kind of put that around the letter and the photo. So it does act as like a small barrier, but I put one stamp on the self-addressed stamped envelope, and I put all of that inside an envelope, and I put 2 stamps on the envelope that I'm sending out just to make sure that I cover postage. I know it doesn't need it. Like someone told me like all I would need is like 1 stamp plus like an extra like 7 cents of postage. But again, I'm more about like convenience. I'd rather just kind of put 2 on there rather than having to go wait in line at the post office.
For sure.
If you're sending, if all they're sending is just 1 photo back, you don't need more than 1 stamp. So it's just really about how much money you're looking to spend, because, if you want to send a baseball or a Funko Pop or something like that, there's a lot of additional steps in that process financially, and if you want to, that's great. You just have to always know that whatever you want to do, it's going to cost money. So you just have to ask yourself, how much money am I willing to put into this? And for me, I'm honestly kind of a cheapskate. Like 8x10s are the cheapest and easiest to send. I can put them all in a cool little album, so I have this kind of like really cool, talking piece of this fat album filled with photos, and my friends will come over and flip through it and be like, oh my God, how'd you get this guy? How'd you get that girl? And so for me, that's where I like to go. But it's financial. You've got to think about how much you're looking to put in when you start this kind of hobby up.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm kind of the same way. Like when I first started, I would just send cards because it's, 1 stamp, not even probably 1 stamp. I was probably over posting it because I was using the forever, I was using the forever stamps. So it's, 1 forever stamp each way, and you have a little card with your little letter. And I would even go as far as to, I would make my letters so short that like 6 of them would fit on 1 piece of paper, and then I would just cut them and then just put them in the envelope there, and just kind of let it go at that. Not even a full sheet of paper for the letter,
I'm a little wordy with my letters, and it's only because and I know some people, and it's great, again, that financial side. I know a lot of people that will always send money with their requests, right? Whether it's maybe $5 or $10, they kind of feel like if you're sending money, people have no choice but to sign. I don't want to send money, and so I kind of sometimes make my letter a little longer. I usually have like my first paragraph and my last paragraph are always the same. I literally keep it on my computer. It's saved as a document. And what's different is just that middle thing. And I'll kind of specifically bring up something that I know or appreciate about the person. If it's like when I sent to John Travolta, I was a big fan of the movie Pelham 1-2-3. I was a big fan of the movie Michael growing up as a kid. I wanted to be in the play Grease because I was a theater kid. So I talked about that, right? When I sent to Jack Nicklaus, I talked about his Masters wins and how watching him growing up got me more and more into golf. And now that my son, I try to do at least something to let them know that I'm not just some rando guy who's sending anything and everything, that I actually want them as a part of my collection.
For sure. And that's kind of what sometimes a good quality letter will be the difference between getting a signature or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
And not to say that these people read every single word of every single letter and stuff, but if they see maybe a front and back letter, a quality letter, they might sit down and actually read that, and then that might be the difference. I don't know.
Right.
But certainly something to think about.
Yeah.
And like you said, with sending baseballs, I'm actually gonna send a baseball this week. So I'll have to kind of update everybody on how that goes, because I've never even sent a baseball before. So I'm gonna take a risk on that one. See what happens.
Are you gonna send it with a cube, or I know some people have bubble wrap before? What's kind of your process with that?
Well, my plan is to try and just put it in one of those yellow padded envelopes that I love so much. Pretty much everything that I send out, if somebody has won a prize on the autograph cave or whatever, pretty much everything I send out is in a yellow padded envelope. I have them in bulk, so it's just really easy for me to use those. Plus, I like how they're more weather resistant and things like that. So I just kind of, it might cost me a little more. I'm sure it does. But I mean, I don't know. It's just like a peace of mind thing for me, and I feel like it's more sturdy. So I've been using those.
Well, I think that's a good bet. And, like you said, Amazon uses those things all the time. So, if Amazon's okay delivering your stuff to your door that way, it can protect a baseball. And they're kind of meant to be out in the elements. They're meant to, to kind of endure that type of stuff. And, obviously you're being cost effective too, in the sense that if you have these in bulk, if you're not going to use them, you're just kind of letting them sit there and collect dust. So it's you might as well use them and get out of them what they're intended for.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know what group it was, what autograph group it was, but I seen on one of the autograph groups today, some guy was sending out a bunch of photos, and he said he used a 12 by 18 envelope to send out his 11 by 14 photos. And this thing, it was like regular cardboard. It looked really sturdy.
Wow.
So maybe using something like that for photos would be good as well, with maybe a smaller, I guess. Either he folds, he didn't really say about a return envelope, but maybe he folds the other envelope in half or something and sticks it in there too, or maybe a smaller envelope or something. But it looked really sturdy and really good. So I'm gonna kind of look into that as well. See what kind of 12 by 18 envelopes they have out there, for sure. But
nice.
And those ones, I don't know if you've seen them, but there's these envelopes with a clasp on them, like the metal clasp, and they kind of and they're kind of smaller. I've been using those for my cards and stuff. I just use two of those.
That's what I use for my photos.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, and they're really good. They're sturdy, and I've never had an issue with those. You just got to make sure you heavily tape. Well, just for my personal, extra protection, I make sure that I heavily tape the metal piece where the metal piece is, because I'm always afraid it's gonna pop open and then everything's gonna fall out.
Yeah, I always run some tape kind of over that fold, so that way I know. Yeah, I'm the same way as you. Like, I don't want that thing falling off, so I'm like, okay, if it's taped, I know if heaven forbid it does, it's still gonna keep everything intact.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I've sent mini helmets before. I don't know if you've gone down that road yet, but they have for mini helmets real easy actually. They have like a well, when I did it, I don't know if they have it now, but when I did it, they printed me a return label, and then I had a little box that was just big enough for the mini helmet, and I stuck it in there, and then the return label was in the bottom, and then that was it. I mean, it was super simple. All they had to do was stick
That's
the
awesome.
return label over top of the, over top of the box and tape it back up again.
That's
So,
awesome, and that's a huge thing. Talking about that kind of piggybacking on what you just said. Another big thing is that I feel like a successful request through the mail is also dependent upon how easy you make it for the person sending back, right? So, like, you had the return label ready to go. All they had to do is slap it on there, and they're done, right? The more steps a celebrity has to take, the less likely they are to do it.
yep,
So it's all about making it easy for them, and almost kind of, I don't want to say making them feel guilty, but like, if they're going to open up that mini helmet of yours, right, and they're going to see the box, they're going to see the label, and they're going to ignore it, kind
yep,
of jacked up. You know what I mean? Like,
yep,
it's like, all right, man, this guy took the time to do all this. Like, shoot, least I could do is send it back, right? Like, you, the easier you make it, the harder you make it for them to not do it. And
yep.
I think that's a huge key to through the mail success.
Takes them more energy to open the package than it does to, send it back.
Right, totally. It really does in most spaces, right? Especially if that tape's on there, right? Like, they
Yeah.
gotta cut that stuff open, and then at that point it's just lick, stick, and go. So yeah.
And a thing that I really like to do, I don't know if you do this. Sometimes I get a little nervous doing this because I'm afraid that the Sharpie or whatever is going to explode in the mail. But I always will send a Sharpie or a pen with my request, just to make it even that much easier. Now, granted, you do have that risk of it, exploding or whatever. But I kind of most of the time I put it in like a little plastic bag so that if it does
Yeah,
explode, then it's at least in the bag, hopefully.
yeah. I have a
Um,
friend of mine that does the same thing, and he says most of the time he gets the pens back. Sometimes whoever he comes back, they forgot or whatever. But he says about 99% of the time he gets the pens back, and he's in that same philosophy. He even takes a bigger risk. He'll send paint pens quite often, especially if it's like a mini helmet or like a Funko Pop or something like that. I mean, and those are pricey compared to like a Sharpie, and so
mhm.
I give him a lot of credit for being willing to send those in the mail, because there's also opportunity to have that pen leak, and then too, it's an expensive pen, so if that person forgets to send it back, you're out, way more money than you're out if you were just putting together. I mean, you can go get Sharpies, a pack of them for probably $5-6. Those paint pens are like somewhere up to like $10-12 a piece.
Oh yeah, for
So
sure.
they get really expensive.
And they're really hard to find too. At least for
Yep.
me in my area, I don't have a place that sells those kind of things. Um,
Right.
so it's pretty hard for me to come across the paint pen. I mean, and another aspect of that I would be concerned about is if the person you're sending to doesn't know how to properly re-prep the paint pen. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Right.
you're gonna be in trouble. Especially some of these celebrities. They don't get to their mail for like a year.
Oh,
So
no way. Yeah. Yeah.
that would be bad.
That's
But
when you gotta hope they have a really cool assistant who's like sitting with them as they're doing this. Like, all right, here's this, here's go. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you gotta kind of keep your fingers crossed for. Because you're right. Like, I mean, and this isn't a knock on him, but I don't think Jack Nicholas knows how to use a paint pen. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably got other things to worry about. So it's like, yeah, you're right. You're taking a big risk sometimes sending a paint pen, because you just don't know how usable it's going to be for the person you're sending it to.
I'll go on a little side story here. Um, when I met Jerry the King Lawler, I had I believe it was a gold paint pen. It was the first time I ever used paint pen before in my life, and and I tested it at my house, and it worked good and whatever. And I was like, all right, cool. I think I prepped it right. I think it'll be all good, because you have to like shake I don't know if anybody else has ever, prepped a paint pen or whatever, but you have to like shake the paint pen for like 30 seconds to a minute, and then you have to like press it on like a piece of paper or something, like 30 or so times to get the paint to just start flowing out of it. And it's this whole thing, right? So I was using this paint pen, and I go up to meet Jerry Lawler, and he signs the action figure that I had. And it actually wasn't even my action figure. I was doing a consignment for somebody. But so he signs it, and then my brother goes to pick it up off the table and go, and Jerry Lawler goes, "Don't touch that, let it dry." And my brother's like, "Okay." And so Jerry Lawler made us wait for like 5 minutes before he would let anybody touch the action figure.
Well, I mean, at least you wanted to make sure your autograph stayed intact.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, with those things, you got to make sure that they dry too. But it was just comical because he was like really into it too. And when I handed him the pen, actually the first thing he said to me was, "How do you know that this paint pen looks the best?" And I said, "Well, I don't, but this isn't my action figure, and that's what they wanted, so I guess that's the one we're using." And
awesome.
So yeah.
The paint pens are always funny. I love going to like public signings because, like you said, right, the prep for a paint pen is extensive, right? I mean, comparatively to a Sharpie, you just pop the top of the Sharpie off and you're ready to go. So like, it's always funny. Like I remember the Becky Lynch signing a few years ago, and like we saw her walk in, right? So we knew within a few minutes the line was going to start moving, and all of a sudden you just hear like this little tiny chorus of like shaking paint pens, and like you look around and like there's like 20 dudes just like shaking this paint pen, getting it ready, like, and we're all kind of looking at each other, just laughing. It's like we all like, yep, we know the process, man. Like it's so funny when you see all these people that have them, because just right about the same time, everyone's like, gotta get it ready, and they're all just shaking and pressing it on paper or pressing it on whatever they've held their autograph with. It's freaking funny.
Yeah, for sure. It's always.
I got another good tip, by the way, for people if they want kind of an in-between from paint pens and Sharpies. These pens are really, they're not easy to find. You can find them on Amazon, I think. They're called Straddlers, and they're just like an all black on the outside pen, but they come in like blue and I think silver, but they're like higher quality Sharpies, and they have like really fine tip and then kind of like a medium tip to them. But the cool thing about them is they dry super quick. So they're one of those things where like if you put them to a photo or you put them to something like that, they're going to dry really, really quickly. And so kind of you talk about like, Jerry, like, oh, step away, let the thing dry. These ones are really good because you don't really have to wait that long before you touch the item.
Nice. I didn't know about that. I'm going to actually look into that myself. That's a good tip, because I'm always looking for, different pens and so forth to try. So that's cool. I didn't know about that.
I've had 2 of them for 2 years, and they've yet to dry out.
Oh wow!
And I just use them when I go to different signings. If I don't have a paint pen or I don't want to use a paint pen, and yeah, they are durable. They are really quality pens, and I learned about them because I was at a public signing at a local card shop, and the owners of the card shop I'd happened to known for years. I'd gone there since I'd been a kid, and he saw me in line, and he saw me with a mini helmet. And he was like, "What do you have him sign that with?" And I was like, "It was like a silver helmet." And I was like, "Well, all I got on me is like this like blue Sharpie." And he like goes under his counter, throws me one of these, and he's like, "Use this." And I was like, "What is this?" And he's like, "It's a better Sharpie." He goes, "But it'll show up way better." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "I can just have it." He's like, "I've known you for years. Keep it." But I ended up buying 2 more after seeing it and how well it worked.